Hey everyone, and welcome to the Deep Dive. I'm Lex.
And I'm Vera.
And today we're going to do a deep dive into this Forbes article.
Ooh, Forbes.
Yeah, all about 7 easy steps to improve your early stage startup marketing strategy.
Yeah.
So,
Sounds useful.
yeah, for sure. So if you're like a business owner or a C-level executive
Yeah.
and you're looking for some, really solid marketing advice, you're definitely in the right place.
Absolutely.
So yeah, I mean, we see so many startups really struggling
Oh, for sure.
to get their marketing going,
Yeah.
especially in that early stage.
It's
And this article really lays out a nice kind of roadmap for them.
I like roadmaps.
Yeah, roadmaps are good. Okay, so first of all, of course, if you're enjoying this deep dive, make sure to hit that follow button
Yes, please do.
and share it with anyone else you think might benefit.
Definitely. Spread the knowledge.
Okay, so the first step
All right, step number 1.
that the article highlights is defining your minimum viable segment.
Minimum viable segment.
Now, this might sound kind of basic,
Yeah, it does sound basic.
but I think this is a step that a lot of startups just totally skip over.
They do.
What do you think about that?
I think it's super important. I mean, it really is foundational. Instead of trying to be everything to everyone, which is what a lot of startups do, they want to appeal to everybody. It's so much more effective to laser focus on a specific niche. Like, who are the people who are really going to benefit most from your product or service?
Right.
And also think about it this way. Who is easiest to reach?
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
You have limited resources as a startup. You have to think about how you spend those marketing dollars.
For sure.
It's kind of like if you open a new restaurant, would you rather try to attract every single person in your city? Or would you focus on being the go-to spot for, say, vegan foodies?
Right. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Totally. Choose your battles.
Choose your battles and win.
And win those battles. So how do you actually figure that out? How do you pinpoint that minimum viable segment? Especially when you're a startup, you probably don't have a ton of data.
Right. Yeah, it's a challenge for sure. I mean, that's where you have to get creative and really, leverage every little bit of information that you do have.
Okay.
So first, look at your early customers. If you have any at all, I mean, if you're brand new, you might not have any.
Right.
But if you do, look at them. What do they have in common?
Right.
What are their demographics, their age, their location, their interests? What are their problems? What are they trying to solve? You can also look at your competitors, who are they targeting?
Oh, yeah?
What are their strengths and weaknesses? You can learn a lot from what other people are doing.
Right. Yeah. It's like detective work.
It is like a little marketing detective.
You're gathering all these clues and building this profile.
Exactly. And, and the beautiful thing about a digital age is that there are tools that can help you. So as you gather data, you can actually refine that customer profile more and more. You can use different analytics platforms, things like that. The article actually uses the example of a project management tool.
Okay.
And it gives the advice, instead of targeting all businesses, maybe they should focus on just marketing agencies.
Right.
Their messaging would be so much sharper. Their marketing efforts would be so much more efficient.
Makes sense. Totally makes sense.
Oh, yeah.
So, okay, you've nailed down your target audience.
Got him.
Step 2 is building a strong online presence.
Okay.
And the article really stresses going beyond just a website.
Yeah.
I mean, it's got to be more than that, right?
Of course.
So what are the other elements?
I think of it as like a digital ecosystem.
Okay.
Right. You have your website. Yeah, that's kind of your home base. But
Well,
you also need to think about your social media, your SEO, your content marketing strategy, and they all kind of work together. It's like this beautiful, synergy.
to make you discoverable, to build that credibility.
Absolutely.
Okay, but with so many platforms and channels out there, it can be so overwhelming.
It is.
What should a startup actually prioritize?
So this is where, again, understanding that minimum viable segment is so important.
Okay.
Where do your customers hang out online? Are they on LinkedIn,
Right.
Instagram? Are they more into, Facebook, Twitter, or are they on industry forums?
Yeah.
You have to really know where they are so you can meet them there.
Right. You don't want to be shouting into the void, right?
Absolutely not.
You got to be where they are.
That's it.
So the article also mentions using your website to really clearly communicate your value proposition.
Yes.
Now, why is that so important, especially for a brand new startup?
Because nobody knows you.
Right.
Think about it. You're a new brand. You're coming onto the scene. People land on your website. They have seconds to decide, should I stay or should I go?
Right.
You have to answer that question for them immediately. What's in it for me?
Yeah.
You need to tell them what your unique value is, what problems you solve for them, and why they should choose you over every other competitor out there.
It's like that first impression, right?
Yeah.
When you walk into a room.
Yeah, it is.
You want to, project that confidence.
Yeah.
Make people want to know more.
Exactly.
Okay, so step 3 then dives into the power of social proof.
Okay, social proof.
So we're talking about, reviews, testimonials, case studies, all that good stuff.
Yes.
And this is where I think it gets really interesting for early stage startups.
Totally.
Because they're battling that trust gap.
Right. Oh, huge trust gap. They have no track record. So it's, why should I trust you is the question on everybody's mind.
Right, exactly. You're this new player, no one knows you.
Yeah.
How do you convince those potential customers that you're actually legit?
That's the challenge. That's where social proof comes in. Because think about it. If you're buying something online, would you rather buy something that has hundreds of 5-star reviews or something that has no reviews?
No reviews, yeah. I mean, I'm definitely going to go with the reviews.
Of course you are.
It's like having a friend vouch for you, right?
It is, exactly. That's why it's so powerful, is because it gives that third-party validation.
Yeah.
And that can be so crucial in those early stages when you just don't have that name recognition yet.
Right. The article uses Dropbox as an example.
Yeah.
Their referral program was huge.
Oh, yeah.
In driving growth because it tapped into that power of social proof.
Yeah. People were much more likely to try Dropbox if a friend recommended it. It felt less risky.
Yeah.
Right? And it just created a lot of organic buzz.
Right. So you don't need a fancy referral program to leverage social proof. What are some other ways?
Just start by asking your existing customers, hey, can you give me a review? Can you give me a testimonial? And feature them, put them front and center on your website, on your social media. You can also do case studies, right? Show how your product or service has actually helped real people.
I like that, turning your happy customers into advocates.
Make them work for you.
So step 4 brings us to influencer marketing.
Ooh, influencers.
Which, can be tricky.
It can
be a little bit of a minefield, especially for startups. So what does the article say about that?
It's really interesting. It says that, yes, partnering with influencers can be a fast way to gain that social proof we were talking about.
Okay.
But they caution against it in those early stages,
right?
Unless it's a really, really perfect fit.
Which makes sense. Influencer marketing can get expensive.
Oh, it can be pricey.
And if you're not targeting the right people, it's basically throwing money away.
You're just lighting your money on fire at that point.
So it's about finding influencers who their audience aligns perfectly with yours.
Yes.
And their values align with your brand's values.
You got to have that brand alignment, you know.
Sure.
And I think it's more effective during the growth stage, really, once you have some traction and you have a little bit more resources.
Yeah, okay. So maybe not the first thing a brand new startup should tackle.
Right.
Okay, step 5 is all about building an email list.
Email list.
Now, some people might think email's a little old school, these days.
Yeah.
But this article argues that it's still a super valuable asset.
Oh, it is.
So why is that?
Because it's an own channel. We talk about social media and all these different things, but you're at the mercy of the algorithm.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
With email, you have direct access to your audience. You can build those relationships over time. You're not at the mercy of rising ad costs, all of that.
So how do you actually convince people to give you their email address?
That's the question, isn't it? And that's where we talk about the lead magnet, which basically you're giving them something valuable in exchange for that email address.
So it's kind of like a little bribe?
It's a bribe, but it's a good bribe. It has to be something that your audience actually wants.
Right, exactly.
Something they find valuable, helpful.
So what are some good examples?
It really depends on what industry you're in, of course.
Yeah.
But it could be an ebook, a white paper, a checklist, a template. It could be a webinar, a discount code. Even a free trial, something to give them a little taste.
To sweeten the deal.
Exactly. And then you can use those email campaigns to launch new products, announce promotions, share valuable content, stay top of mind with your audience.
So email marketing is like a long game.
It is. It really is. You're nurturing those leads. You're converting them into paying customers over time.
Right.
It's a marathon, not a sprint.
Okay, so step 6, tackles paid advertising.
Paid advertising.
And this is something that can be really, really scary for startups, especially if they have limited budgets.
Right.
So, the article acknowledges that, yes, it can be powerful.
Yeah.
Boost visibility, get more traffic.
For sure.
But you can also burn through cash really, really fast.
So fast. It's like throwing money into a fire.
So how do you avoid that?
So they give 2 crucial rules.
Okay.
Number 1, run those small-scale campaigns, but as experiments.
Okay.
So don't just go all in right away. Like, test different messaging, different targeting options, see what works.
Okay.
Test different ad platforms.
So treat them like little learning opportunities.
Yes.
Gather data.
Yeah.
And then you figure out what works.
Exactly.
Where you go big.
That's it. And then rule number 2 is only scale up once you have that product market fit and you have the resources to do it.
So you got to make sure you've got that strong foundation.
Yeah.
Before you start building skyscrapers.
That's a good one. That's a great analogy. And it also ties into, A/B testing, which is a big part of figuring out that product market fit.
Yeah. Can you explain A/B testing a little bit?
Yeah.
For our listeners who might not know what that is?
It's a fancy term for something that's actually pretty straightforward. You're basically comparing 2 versions of something.
Okay.
So it could be a web page, it could be an ad, and you see which one performs better.
Okay.
So you're showing version A to one group, version B to another, and then you track like which one gets more clicks, more conversions, whatever metric you're looking at.
So you're using data to make decisions.
That's it.
You're not just guessing.
You're not just winging it,
Exactly. Okay. And this all leads us to the final step.
Okay.
Which is really embracing this test, learn, and iterate mindset.
That's it.
And this is something that we talk about a lot here at Shield Media.
We do. We're big fans of this.
It's so crucial for any business, but especially for startups.
Totally.
So what does that mean in practice?
It means recognizing that marketing is not just like a one-time thing, right?
Right.
It's not just like, okay, we did our campaign, we're done. It's this ongoing process. It's constantly experimenting, analyzing, refining what you're doing.
Yeah, it's a cycle.
It is. It's a cycle.
You're testing something, you analyze what happened, you learn from it,
Yes.
and then you improve, and then you just keep doing that.
You just keep going.
Mhm.
And, the article gives this great analogy of the gaming industry
Yeah.
and how game developers, they'll release beta versions of their games, right?
Mhm.
And they get all this feedback from players, and then they use that feedback to improve the game before it actually, has the official launch.
Right. Even in a field like, game development, which is very creative, it's still...
It's still iterative.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
And the same is true for marketing.
Absolutely.
You might have what you think is this brilliant idea
Oh, for sure.
for a campaign, but until you put it out there
Yeah.
and you see how people actually respond to it.
Who knows?
Yeah, you don't know.
Yeah.
So you got to be willing to try things.
Yes.
To experiment.
Even make some mistakes,
Yeah.
It's all a part of it.
And those mistakes
Yeah, those quote-unquote mistakes.
they're learning opportunities.
That's right. Because that's where the data comes from.
And the great thing is with digital marketing, it's all trackable.
Yes. Oh, yeah. It's so measurable.
You can see how many people visit your website,
Yeah.
how many people open your emails,
Right.
what people are engaging with on social media.
Right, all of it.
And then you use that to make informed decisions.
Exactly. That's why this mindset is so powerful, because you're not just, going with your gut, which can be helpful sometimes, but you actually have the data to back it up.
Yeah.
It really takes the guesswork out of it.
So for anyone listening who's thinking, well, this all sounds great, but where do I start?
Yeah, where do I even begin?
What's like a simple first step they could take to be more experimental?
I think it's just choosing one small thing, like just one little thing to test.
Okay.
It could be something like a headline on your website
Okay.
or a different subject line in your email newsletter or just a different call to action in, one of your social media posts.
Yeah.
Just make one little change, track what happens, and see, did it make a difference?
I love that. Small, manageable steps.
Yeah, baby steps.
Yeah.
That's how we do it.
And don't be discouraged
No.
if that first experiment doesn't go exactly how you planned.
It happens. It's all part of it.
It's all part of the process.
That's it.
You learn from it,
Yeah.
and then your next experiment is even better.
Exactly.
Now, before we go on to the next section,
Okay.
I just want to remind everybody,
Yes.
if you're feeling overwhelmed by any of this, or you just want some help navigating all this digital marketing stuff,
Mm-hmm.
Shield Media we're here to help you.
That's what we do.
We specialize in helping businesses,
Yep.
especially those targeting Western clients,
Yes.
with local SEO, pay-per-click, social media
All
management,
the things.
all the things.
If you need a guide, you know where to find us.
Exactly. Reach out to us. We'd love to help you.
Yeah.
Now, before we move on to the next section, I just want everyone listening to take a second and think about which of these steps that we've talked about really resonates with you the most. What are you struggling with?
Yeah.
Take a moment.
Pause the podcast if you need to.
Yeah, pause it if you have to.
Yeah.
We're going to dive deeper into some of these in the next section.
Can't wait. So welcome back, everyone. We were just talking about how important it is to really embrace that test, learn, and iterate approach to marketing.
For sure.
But let's circle back for a second to that idea of defining your minimum viable segment.
Okay.
You know, you were saying that a lot of startups really struggle with this.
They do.
Why do you think that is?
I think it's really tempting to try and appeal to like everyone, especially when you're first starting out.
Right.
You kind of want to cast this wide net.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
See who bites.
See what sticks.
But the reality is, like, if you're spreading yourself too thin, it's not going to work.
No, you end up diluting your message. You're wasting resources.
Yeah.
Trying to reach people who might not even care about what you're selling.
Right. Exactly.
It's like that saying, jack of all trades, master of none.
Right. Yeah.
You want to be the master of something.
Yeah. So it's much more effective to really focus on being the go-to solution for a specific group of people.
100%.
But I think, you know, for a lot of startups, that can be scary.
Yeah, it is. It can feel scary.
Because you think, oh, what if I'm missing out on all these other potential customers?
Right. You feel like you're limiting yourself.
But you're not. Right.
But you're really not. I mean, think about it this way. Would you rather have like 100 customers who absolutely love your product and tell all their friends about it?
Yeah.
You know, like 1,000 customers who are just kind of lukewarm.
Right.
And probably won't even remember your brand name next week.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Right? You want those raving fans.
Okay, so quality over quantity.
Quality, always.
But another thing I think startups struggle with is, you know, they don't always have a ton of data.
Right. That's true.
Especially in the beginning, to actually define their target audience.
Yeah, that's the challenge, isn't it? You might not have mountains of customer data to analyze, but you can still be really strategic about how you gather those insights.
Okay.
So, like we said before, look at those early adopters, if you have any.
Right.
What are their demographics? What are their pain points? What motivates them?
So you're looking for those patterns, those commonalities.
Exactly. Those little golden nuggets of information. And you can also, like we said, look at your competitors. Who are they targeting? What are their strengths, their weaknesses? What can you learn from them?
It's like conducting market research, but just on a smaller scale.
Exactly. And remember, this is an ongoing process. It's not like you do it once and you're done.
Right.
You gather more data, you refine that target audience, and you adjust your marketing as you go.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so once you have a good understanding of your target audience, then it's about building that strong online presence.
Right.
And the article really emphasizes that it's not just about having a website.
Oh, absolutely not. Your online presence, think of it like your digital storefront.
Okay.
It's the first impression you make on potential customers. And in today's world, it needs to be multifaceted.
So we're talking website, social media, SEO, content marketing, all of that.
All the things, yeah.
Okay. But for a startup, especially one with limited resources, that can be overwhelming.
Oh, it definitely can. That's where, again, understanding that target audience is so crucial. Where are those ideal customers hanging out online? Are they on LinkedIn, Instagram, TikTok? Are they more into Twitter or Facebook? Or are they on some industry-specific forum or platform? You got to know where they are so you can meet them there.
Yeah, no point in investing a bunch of time and money in a platform where they're not even at.
Exactly. So once you've identified the right platforms, then you have to create content that resonates with them.
Yeah.
You know, think about what they're looking for, what problems they're trying to solve, what kind of content they find engaging.
And the article also mentions, you know, really using your website to clearly communicate your value proposition.
Yes. So important.
Why is that so crucial, especially for early stage startups?
Because in the early stages, you're a nobody.
Yeah.
You know, People might not have heard of your brand before, so when they land on your website, you have literally seconds to capture their attention.
Right.
You've got to convince them you're worth their time.
It's like that first date, you know?
Yeah, exactly. You got to make a good impression. You want to be the one they swipe right on. So your website needs to answer that question, what's in it for me, quickly and clearly.
Right.
You need to articulate your unique value proposition, showcase the problems you solve, and show why they should choose you over all those other competitors.
Okay, so you've got your website dialed in, you're active on the right social media platforms, you're creating great content.
We're cooking.
Now, it's time to start building that social proof.
Right.
The article talks about reviews, testimonials, case studies, all of that.
All the good stuff. And this is so important for early stage startups because, you know, they haven't really established a track record yet.
Yeah.
They need to build that trust, that credibility.
They got to show people, like, hey, we're legit.
Exactly. And social proof is such a powerful way to do that. I mean, think about it. When you're buying something online, are you more likely to trust the company's marketing copy or a review from someone who's actually used the product?
Yeah, the review for sure. It's like getting an insider's perspective.
Exactly. And the article mentions Dropbox's referral program as a great example.
Oh, yeah. That's a classic example of how to leverage social proof.
Yeah, they knew that people are way more likely to try Dropbox if a friend recommended it.
Right.
So they created this program that incentivized users to spread the word. It was genius.
It created this ripple effect of trust, right?
Totally. It's like, hey, if my friend trusts them, maybe I should too.
Exactly. You don't need some fancy referral program to start building that social proof.
Not at all. You can start by just asking your existing customers for reviews or testimonials.
Okay, yeah.
Feature them on your website, share them on social media, include them in your marketing materials.
So you're basically turning your happy customers into brand advocates.
That's it. You make them work for you.
And case studies are another good way to really showcase the impact of your product or service.
Case studies are awesome because they tell a story. They show how real people have used your product or service to achieve real results.
Right. They're not just hypothetical.
Exactly. It's proof that your solution actually works.
Okay, now let's talk about influencer marketing.
Ooh, influencers. Everyone wants to work with influencers these days.
Right. And the article says, you know, it can be a really fast way to gain social proof.
Yeah.
But it cautions against jumping in too early.
Yes.
Unless the fit is perfect.
It has to be the right fit.
Why is that?
Well, influencer marketing can be expensive.
Yeah, for sure.
And if you partner with the wrong influencer,
it
can actually damage your brand.
So how do you find the right influencer for your startup?
It's not just about finding someone with a huge following.
Okay.
It's about finding someone whose audience really aligns with your target market and whose values align with your brand values.
So it's more about relevance?
Relevance over reach every time.
Okay, yeah.
You want to make sure that their audience is genuinely interested in what you have to offer.
Makes sense. Yeah. Otherwise, you're just wasting your money.
Throwing it away.
Okay, the article also talks about the importance of building an email list.
Yes. Email marketing.
Now, I know some people might think that's kind of old school these days.
A little bit, yeah.
But it's still one of the most valuable assets a startup can have.
Absolutely. It's an owned channel, which we've talked about. You know, you're not at the mercy of the algorithm.
Right.
You have direct access to your audience. You can build those relationships over time.
So how do you actually convince people to sign up for your email list?
That's where the lead magnet comes in. You offer something valuable in exchange for their email address.
It's like that little bribe we talked about.
Exactly. But it has to be something good, something your target audience actually wants.
Yeah, for sure. So what are some examples of effective lead magnets?
Well, it really depends on your industry and your audience, but some classic examples are ebooks, white papers, checklists, templates, webinars, discount codes, free trials, all sorts of things.
Okay, so it's about offering something that provides real value.
Absolutely.
And then once you have their email address, what do you do with it?
You use it to build relationships and nurture those leads. You send them regular newsletters, you share valuable content, you announce promotions, you keep them engaged with your brand.
Right. The article talks about using email marketing for, launching new products, announcing promotions, sharing content, staying top of mind.
All of that. And it's a great way to nurture those leads and turn them into paying customers.
So it's really a long game.
It is. It's about building relationships and fostering trust over time.
Okay, speaking of building a customer base, let's talk about paid advertising.
Ooh, the scary one.
It can be, especially for startups with limited budgets.
Yeah. The article acknowledges that it can be really powerful, but it also warns about the potential pitfalls.
Right. So what advice does it offer?
It lays out 2 crucial rules. Number 1, treat your early campaigns as experiments.
Okay.
Don't go all in right away. Test different messaging, different targeting options, different platforms. See what resonates with your audience.
So you're gathering data, you're learning what works before you start scaling up.
Exactly. And then rule number 2 is only scale up once you've achieved that product market fit and you have the resources to support that growth.
You got to make sure you have that solid foundation.
Absolutely.
Like you don't want to be building skyscrapers on sand.
Great analogy. I like that. And this also ties into the concept of A/B testing, which we talked about earlier.
Right. A/B testing, which is basically comparing 2 versions of something.
Exactly. A web page, an ad, whatever.
And seeing which one performs better.
Exactly. So you're using data to make decisions about your marketing.
Right. You're taking the guesswork out of it.
That's the beauty of it.
Okay. And this all leads to that final step, which we've been talking about throughout the episode, embracing the test, learn, and iterate mindset.
Yes. This is so important.
And we're big proponents of this at Shield Media.
We are. It's crucial for any business, but especially for startups who are still figuring things out.
Right. What does that actually mean in practice?
It means recognizing that marketing is not a set it and forget it kind of thing. It's a continuous process.
Okay.
It's about constantly experimenting, analyzing, refining.
It's a cycle.
It is. You test something, you analyze the results, you learn from it, and then you use those insights to improve, and then you do it all over again.
Right. The article gives the example of the gaming industry.
Oh, yeah.
And how game developers use beta versions and A/B testing to get feedback and make improvements.
Even in an industry like game development, which is super creative, it's still iterative.
Yeah. For sure.
And the same applies to marketing. You might have this brilliant idea, but until you put it out there and see how people respond, you never really know.
So you have to be willing to experiment.
Yes.
Even if it means making some mistakes along the way.
Those mistakes are valuable. They're learning opportunities.
There it is.
Exactly. And the great thing about digital marketing is that it's so measurable.
Oh, yeah.
You can track almost everything. Website traffic, email opens, social media engagement, all of it.
And you use that to make more informed decisions.
Exactly. You're not just relying on your gut. You have the data to back it up.
Right. It takes the guesswork out of it.
Exactly.
So for anyone listening who's thinking, okay, this all sounds great, but where do I even start?
Yeah, that's the big question.
What's a simple first step they can take?
Just choose one small thing to test. One little thing.
Okay.
It could be a different headline on your website, a different subject line in an email, a different call to action on a social media post. Just one thing. Make the change, track the results, and see what happens.
I love that. Small, manageable steps.
Baby steps. That's how we get there.
Exactly. And don't be discouraged if your first experiment doesn't go exactly as planned.
Yeah, it happens. It's all part of the process.
You learn from it, and your next experiment will be even better.
Exactly.
Now, before we wrap up this deep dive, I want to remind everyone listening that if you're feeling overwhelmed by any of this, or you just want a little help navigating the world of digital marketing, Shield Media is here to help you.
Absolutely. We specialize in helping businesses, especially those targeting Western clients, with everything from local SEO to pay-per-click to social media management. We can help you figure it all out.
So if you need a guide on this journey, reach out to us. We'd love to help. Now, before we go, let's take a moment to reflect on what we've discussed.
Yeah, think about what resonated with you.
What's one key takeaway that you'll actually implement in your business?
That's the important part. Taking action.
For me, it's the importance of really focusing on that target audience.
Absolutely.
It's tempting to try and appeal to everyone, but spreading yourself too thin, it's a recipe for disaster.
Totally. It's much more effective to become the go-to solution for a specific group of people. That's a great takeaway. And it's a good reminder that marketing is all about building relationships. It's about understanding your audience, connecting with them on a deeper level, providing them with real value.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And if you found this deep dive valuable, don't forget to hit that follow button and share it with your network. Someone out there might just thank you for it.
Definitely. Spread the knowledge.
Until next time, keep learning, keep testing, and keep growing your business.
From all of us here at Shield Media, thanks for tuning in.
Okay, so we covered a lot of ground in this deep dive.
We did.
But I think this final step in the article, this test, learn, and iterate mindset, it deserves a little more attention.
Yeah, that's a good one.
We've touched on it throughout the episode, but I think especially for startups, It's so crucial in those early stages.
It's really about shifting how you think about marketing.
Okay.
Instead of seeing it as like a one-and-done campaign,
Right.
you're approaching it as like an ongoing experiment.
Yeah, I like that.
It takes the pressure off having to get it perfect the first time. Right, right. There's this great analogy in the article about how game developers work.
Oh, yeah. I remember that.
They release these beta versions of their games, get feedback from players, and then they use that feedback to improve the game before it actually launches.
So even in a field like game development, which is very creative, it's still this process of
iteration and refinement, getting it right.
And the same is true for marketing.
100%.
You might have this amazing idea for a campaign, but until you actually put it out there and see how people respond, you don't know.
You don't know.
So you have to be willing to put yourself out there to experiment.
And make some mistakes.
Yeah.
Those mistakes are actually really valuable.
They are, because you learn from them.
That's right.
They give you that data to make better decisions.
Exactly. And the beauty of digital marketing is that it's so measurable.
It is. You can track almost everything.
Oh, yeah. Website traffic, email open rates. You can see what people are engaging with on social.
And then you use all of that data to make informed decisions.
That's it. You're not just relying on your gut feeling.
Right.
Which sometimes can be helpful. But
sometimes, yeah.
It's nice to have the data to back it up.
So for anyone listening thinking, this is great, but where do I even begin?
Yeah, what's the first step?
What's one simple, first step they can take?
I would say just pick one small thing to test.
Okay.
It could be like changing the headline on your website.
Okay.
Or trying a different subject line in your email newsletter. Or like a different call to action on your social media.
Yeah.
Just make one little change, track the results, and see what happens.
I love that. Small, manageable.
Baby steps.
Yeah.
That's how we do it.
And don't get discouraged if that first experiment doesn't, have the outcome you hoped for.
Oh, yeah. It happens all the time.
It's all part of the process.
It's all part of learning and growing.
And before we wrap up, I just want to remind everyone that if you're feeling overwhelmed by any of this, or you just need some help navigating the world of digital marketing, Shield Media, that's what we do.
That's what we're here for.
We specialize in helping businesses, especially those targeting Western clients, with everything from local SEO to pay-per-click advertising to social media management.
Yep, we've got you covered.
So if you need an expert guide, you know where to find us.
We're here for you.
Reach out.
Absolutely.
Now, as we wrap up this deep dive, I want to leave our listeners with a call to action.
Okay, I like it.
What's one marketing experiment you can start today based on what we've talked about?
Yeah, think about it, write it down, and take action.
Don't be afraid to experiment.
You never know what you might discover.
And if you found this deep dive valuable, don't forget to hit that follow button and share it with someone who might benefit.
Yeah, spread the knowledge.
Until next time, keep learning, keep testing, and keep growing.
From all of us here at Shield Media, thanks for tuning in.